Yeah. Eureka.
We make plays every day, yeah. We make plays every day, yeah. We make plays every day.
This thing don't stop.
We make plays every day, yeah.
All season.
We make plays
Off
every
season,
day,
on
yeah.
season, all that.
We make
All
plays
4
every
seasons
day,
even.
yeah. We make plays every day, yeah.
Sunday through Sunday, goddammit.
Plays every day, yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to the Real Fantasy Playmakers. I'm your host, Bogard Scott-Free. And today we got a very special guest. Welcoming to the Real Fantasy Playmakers podcast, I want to introduce Lawrence. Man, I don't want to mess up the name. The very sexual sounding name. Lawrence Jaramillo.
Jaramillo with the O at the end.
Jaramillo. Yeah, I was going to say Jaramillo. Like, you remember Addams Family? I mean, this is kind of throwback.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Gomez used to always, he'd be like Jaramillo. Yeah, but we got Lawrence Jaramillo. Am I saying that right?
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I got the roll of R's. You know, I do got Spanish heritage, and I am part Spanish. I shouldn't be fucking that up as much. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, it's all good. Hey, it's happened for the last 26 years of my life, so it's all good, bro.
Yeah. Well, shit. Oh, can I call you Larry?
No, you can't.
Yes. You know, we're getting bored. We're building borders here. You know what I'm saying? I know not to cross that line. All right? Well, yeah. Once again, welcome, and Lawrence. Welcome to the show, my brother.
How you doing, man?
Man, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of crazy. Little side note. I know we had kind of pushed this interview back a little, or interview episode, whatever you want to call it. We kind of pushed it back just a tad. You know what I'm saying? With this with the circumstances and the climate of Corona. You know, my little ones got sick. I was like, you know what? Hold on. We can stop the presses. We're gonna go ahead and take them to the doctor, and they were clear. You know, everything was good. You know what I'm saying? We still continue to wear the masks, even though they told us that really can't prevent it. Still, you know what I'm saying, for peace of mind. But yeah, that was pretty much my day, man. How's your day going?
Man, my day was good. Just another day. You know, clocked into work, clocked out of work. Here we are, man. You know.
Yeah. Ready.
I do on my daily basis, just working and looking into some sports talk, fantasy football, all the good stuff. You know how it goes.
Oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So before we get to this before we get to this good fantasy talk, we're going to go ahead and handle this housekeeping. So follow us at the GMM Network. Follow me at Bogard Scott Free World. And you can go ahead and follow my man, Larry. Oh, just kidding. My man, Lawrence. Lawrence Habanero. Oh my, habanero. Now you're a pepper. I'm like, Lawrence Jaramillo. Woo! I got it. Hey, by the end of the show,
perfect. You just gotta split it. You just gotta split it in half. You know what I mean?
Jaramillo.
Put it all together.
Jaramillo. Hey, it sounds like an Italian song. You know what I'm saying? Like,
man, you know, and I don't know. I've got Hispanic, some Mexican background and stuff like that, but I couldn't even tell you if it's Mexican. I have no idea.
Well, my man Lawrence, you know what I'm saying, he's representing The Catch on YouTube. That's YouTube/The Catch. This is where you can find all their content. You know what I mean? They're man, you know, I actually came across you guys on the gram, and I for one am not that easily entertained, and I was like, I fuck with these dudes right here. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have to go ahead and reach out. And here we are, man. I really appreciate you gracing the podcast, and I just want to know more about The Catch. I want to know more about Lawrence, and tell me about all the other guys involved. You know what I'm saying? In this fantasy endeavor.
Yeah. Well, first off, man, before I get started into that, I just want to thank you for reaching out, man.
Oh, man, you're welcome.
These are definitely connections that I really want to have moving forward. So, just want to start off by saying thank you. But again, guys, my name is Lawrence. I go by Law, so AKA, because my name is spelled LAW.
Yeah. Oh, Young Law. Okay, there you go. That's way better than Larry.
Yeah, there you go. No, man, but the reason, you know, we kind of got started with everything is, you know, I started off primarily fantasy football when I kind of got everything kicked off. Got everything going. I was helping out a lot of my friends and a lot of my family members in different leagues, and I've been doing that for several years. And man, the internet really got my attention big time. Seeing how the different content and things like that through YouTube and Instagram, Facebook, I see that all growing at a really rapid pace. And I see a lot of the people making the content being, I'm not real young. I'm 26, but I see them, they look young and, they know what they're talking about. And I've been a big sports head pretty much my entire life. So, I mean, as long as I can remember. So definitely something I really wanted to get started in. I was confident whenever I was getting started on it because I knew what I was talking about, and I was really, really ready to get going. I brought my buddy Tanner Clifton, TC. I brought him
Shout
on.
out to TC.
Yeah, shout out TC. That's right. Brought him in kind of on the second half of everything. So things started to kind of slow down for me in the fantasy. I was still trying to kind of find my way as far as what content do I want to make, what content do I want to stay away from. So as the season kind of progressed, I still did the fantasy football stuff, but I opened it up more to just football talk in general. I'm thinking, really want to move into the sports talk type of thing, and just kind of balance it between the sports talk and the fantasy football. So that's really where we're at right now, man.
Man, you know what? I'll tell you this much. You said 26 years old. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, I got you by like 9 years. And it's refreshing because you are definitely one of the younger guys, saying that is embarking in this, because majority of the fantasy analysts, quote unquote, they're all in their mid 30s and up, you know what I mean? And
right.
it's refreshing to see someone, because younger, because no offense to your generation by any means, but like it's like with fantasy, with that generation in general, things got to be flash and bang, and like, it's a pretty long off season. You know what I mean? For as far as in my theory of you guys, not you guys, but your generation, kind of having ADD. Mind you, I would know this. I have a part in raising that generation. You know what I mean? So I know what it is. To hold people captive. And, even hold yourself captive in something, kind of like how youngsters switch their major around a ton of times in college. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of hard for them to set on something. And like, something like this definitely does take dedication. And I'm finding this out firsthand myself. You know what I mean? Like, it definitely is about consistency and like, and I agree with you. It's kind of hard to find a niche, and like find like, what hasn't been done in this industry, because, everyone, it is saturated, but I'll tell you this much, it's saturated more so with a lot of these, what's the word? I don't want to say wannabe talking heads or wannabe analysts, or just a lot of people that think it's real easy. Kind of like, and I ain't gonna lie, kind of how I thought of it in the beginning. Like, I was into fantasy. I love it. Like you said, I give a good advice. You know what I mean? To my friends, and all just full disclosure, for all you playmakers that are my friends out there that are listening, if you're in a league with me and you're asking me for advice, I'm gonna give you sounding advice because you're in the same league with me. But if you're asking, yes, and I'll dress it up real nice and I'll laugh diabolically. You know what I'm saying? But when you're asking me something that's not pertaining to a league that we're in together, I'm gonna give you the same advice as something that I would do. And so
absolutely.
Yeah, with that said, I was like, what, we can help a lot of people with this. You know what I mean? Like, because another thing in fantasy too is like, a lot of these people that are quote unquote, good and they're consistent in fantasy leagues, a lot of times they enjoy being in leagues full of fish. You know what I mean? And yeah, you know what I mean? And
to show their dominance, to show their expertise, I think. Yeah. I'm
here to help the fish take the pond back. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought that up. One of the biggest things for me, when I'm thinking about what type of content I want to make, you said you didn't want to say wannabes. The way I look at it is a lot of copy and paste type stuff.
There you go.
You follow enough of these pages and you see people, it's like you see the big page post something about it. So it's almost like they feel like they need to post.
Or they just follow suit. right?
Right, exactly. So I just wanted to touch on that because I'm glad that you brought that up. So that's just kind of what I like to think of whenever I'm making my content. Now, moving on to what really got me on the fantasy side, like you said, you help out your friends and you help out your family and things like that, and that's something that I've been doing for a few years now, and I really enjoy it. It's fun to me. Don't ask me for advice if you're in my league, though. That's my that's my.
Yeah.
But man, you see how and I mean, you play for money, right? Obviously, we don't do this for, right? We don't do it for ribbons.
But pride does drive the greed. Yes.
There you go. Yes, big time. I see what you did there. It's like a 1A, 1B type of thing, right?
Oh yeah. Because winning is everything in fantasy, and to me the money keeps people engaged, and it's also like the more money involved keeps people engaged. You know what I mean? And
oh yeah, it better, right?
Oh yeah, you know what I mean?
Better. But a big thing to me, what really got me started as far as seeing the direction that internet's going and everything. But another big thing for me getting started with the fantasy side is gambling. Just overall, how sports gambling and things like that is starting to become more of a thing. You're starting to see more. So that's definitely something I can see taking over as far as being legal from state to state, things like that. So, I feel like if I can get my hand in the basket at the right time, build my audience and things like that, that maybe when everything is legal, you're talking, 5 or 6 years down the line, it may not even be that long. At that point, hopefully we all have a base underneath us and we just kind of take this thing and run with it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just go ahead and hand them that rock, take it to the house. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, hey, they could try their best to stack the box. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
you know what I mean?
We're going to find a way through that.
Yeah. So,
yes, sir.
so it's essentially it's a two-man operation right now, you and TC?
Yes. Yeah. Me and TC, we're kind of, running the sports talk right now. We really haven't gotten into much the fantasy football side. I'll start doing that probably after the draft. Just trying to kind of make the most of my time right now, getting familiar with a lot of the big names. But just us two right now. So I'm trying to educate myself on a little bit of everything. A big thing, and I know we talked about it before, is we really like to focus on the quality of our show, making the correct investments, cameras, good microphones, good sounding audio, good looking video, because
in a saturated market, the quality will stand out.
Exactly. You gotta make sure somebody can stand the way you sound, can stand the way the footage looks, or whatever the case may be. You don't want that to be the reason somebody turns around or keeps scrolling, or whatever the case may be.
Oh yeah.
So that was early on a big thing for me. So I made a lot of my own investments, like I said, camera, lighting, things like that. And as of right now, I'm doing the editing, which is subpar, but hey, we're getting there.
Hey, you know what? It's just one of those things. It's part of humble beginnings. You know what I mean? You gotta, in the beginning, you obviously at times got to be the jack of all trades. And but also down the road, building a team and picking up guys to play roles is it's kind of like a football team where it's like, hey, we're trying to get this chip. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You might eventually bring in a guy who specializes in editing and can help carry the load and then so you could focus more on on the other aspects of the business and whatnot. I mean,
man, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, because that I'm kind of in the same boat right now. It's me and I have several co-hosts, but as far as I have one consistent co-host. Shout out to my boy Guru. You know what I mean? So me and the Goo, me and the Guru, we do this thing. You know what I'm saying? We've been trying to do at least once a week since the season ended. During the season we pump out about 3 episodes, and with I fully intend on going to the visual route as well, but it was crazy in the beginning because I kind of just wanted to get my feet underneath me, and like I'm a recording artist, by day, and by night, I'm a vigilante fantasy and enthusiast, you know what I'm saying? But yes, so I'm accustomed to to audio, you know what I mean? That's part of my repertoire. You know, I'm a self-proclaimed sound engineer. I do all the editing, you know, and yada yada. But yeah, you know, it was easier to pump out the volume because I don't have a guy who does videography just yet. You know, shout out to everybody that does videography. You know what I mean? Go ahead and DM me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're actively taking applications. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Put me
yeah.
on the list too. Put me on the list.
Oh
too.
yeah. Go ahead. That's Lawrence, aka Law. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and
right.
send him the app. You know what I mean? We're expanding our empire. You know what I mean? So
Hey, no background test or drug test. So
oh, there you go. Hey, you know what? If that was the case, I wouldn't have been I wouldn't have been cleared for this pod. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
Yeah. So off air. Okay. So actually, you know I sent you like a nice little show sheet of you know, kind of little bit of topics to touch on, and so are you following along? Well, maybe we won't touch so much on the combine because I know you said you haven't really looked into the combine just yet, and I don't blame you because you know what I'm saying, like this. It's this time of year. It's truly for the obsessed fantasy enthusiasts. You know what I mean? Because we are in speculation season. You know what I mean? So, but for the record, I have a hell of a lot of fun speculating shit. You know what I mean? So, I know you're not really too familiar with the class coming up right now. So, are you familiar with like you know some of the free agents that are going to be you know, floating around right now? I mean.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Definitely some things that you know, definitely things that I've looked into. I did watch the you know, the combine and everything, just to kind of see how well all of the
prospects. Yep.
You know what I mean? All the prospects, you know, all the hype surrounding a lot of these people. So, but man, I'm looking forward to a little bit of everything. This is kind of like prime time off season. You know, we've got NFL free agency coming right around the corner. We've got the draft just a few weeks after that. So things are really about to start pumping here pretty soon. And then before you know it, it'll be you know, August, September, and we're going to be ready to talk some real ball.
Oh yeah. All right. So. As far as I know, in the news, I mean, it's kind of hard to ignore, but you know, you got Tom Brady. Tom Brady, you know, this. Do you buy into any of this? I mean, this has kind of been the topic of conversation for a couple episodes now because, like I said, we do rather enjoy speculating. But for me personally, I'm a 49er fan, and all this hoopla about us shipping off Jimmy to Chicago and bringing in Brady and you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't really see it. Like, I mean, I definitely see Tennessee and Las Vegas as a landing spot. I mean, there also was the little fun rumor about TB12 going to your boys, the Cowboys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I definitely didn't buy into that at all, but it was fun though, because I actually think Jerry Jones, if that ever came across his table, he'd be like, cancel all my meetings. Get Tom on the phone. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like,
right, exactly.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your Cowboys since we are on free agency and you are now officially my resident Cowboy. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Yeah, so I mean, Dak, they're obviously gonna franchise tag him, right? We hit him with the exclusive.
Talk about a headache. I can't, you know, and I talk about it all of the time. You know, of course, a lot of my friends and everything, they all give me a hard time because. You know, I'm a diehard Cowboy fan, and they know it crawls under my skin. But man, I'm getting really tired of the whole Dak conversation. I can't believe I was hoping that this had been done a year ago.
Right.
But you know, the franchise tag comes around in just a few days. I think it's the 11th is when you have to put in for your
when you can assign them
free agency.
Yeah.
So or you have to franchise tag them. So. Man, the closer that it gets to that, you know, they recently made him an offer, and I don't have the numbers exactly in front of me, but I think it was something like 4 or 5 years, $33 million, $105 million guaranteed. I really haven't heard anything.
I don't know why
else.
he doesn't snatch that up.
That's what I'm saying. You know, it's just a short deal. You can cash out in another 4 years. At that time, you'll be what?
You'll be 30?
30 years old, something like that. So. You can cash out again. I don't understand where why the lack of patience. If you know, I know that the quarterbacks at this point, everybody's getting paid high dollar. You know, Jared Goff.
It's pretty much if you're up to get paid, and even if whether or not you've accomplished anything, they're gonna go ahead and try to break the cap. You know what I mean? Like and I think that's essentially what he wants to do. He wants to be that 40 million or 35 million a year, guy. You know what I mean? Like, honestly,
and I just don't see it. You talk about, you put out the number 40 million. I mean, how many quarterbacks are out there right now that deserve the 40 million other than Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, and I think that's what the Chiefs are waiting on. I think the Chiefs are definitely waiting for Dak to get paid so they can go ahead and give their boy what he deserves. You know what I mean? Because I think that, especially the organization, the Chiefs organization historically loves to overpay, and in this case, it's not overpaying. This would be money well spent. You know what I mean? I mean, look at just a couple years ago, they did the same thing with bringing in Sammy Watkins, and now they're trying to adjust his shit. Because they do historically overpay these free agents. But yeah, Patrick Mahomes in this case isn't a free agent, and neither is Dak. Well, Dak technically will be, because he was a fourth rounder.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm afraid of is that it gets to the point of him needing to be being franchise tag, and I just think that causes a lot of drama in the future. You're talking about bringing in Coach McCarthy, who's brand new coach to the Dallas Cowboys. He wants to have his quarterback. I would venture to say that the reason that Coach McCarthy even went there in the first place was because of Dak Prescott. Oh yeah, and because of the young talent that they have there. So I can see the stars kind of aligning when it comes to the franchise tag, but at the same time, a part of me just wants to say, man, just get the damn deal done and let's move on. Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see what happens.
Well, okay, let me ask you a question, right? Because in the same breath, I can't see Brady going anywhere else. But in going back to my Niners, even if he did come to us, it's just one of those things where it's like, all right, he is the GOAT, but he's the old GOAT now, and like I could look at what he was able to accomplish or not able to accomplish in this past season without weapons, and as far as our memory goes with TB12, he normally makes guys something. You know what I mean? He takes these no-name guys, makes them something, and then
he makes some household names, yeah.
Right, and in this past couple of years, he's brought over the what's his name, the Josh Gordons. He's brought over the Antonio Browns, and it hasn't worked out, and I think
it hasn't meshed.
No, and if I'm Brady, definitely got to have a couple prerequisites. Definitely got to have a good defense. Tennessee and the Niners got that. Definitely got to have a good offensive line, right? Especially compared to what New England was dealing with the past couple of years. That's definitely goes to the Niners and Tennessee. Better run blocking and pass protecting line as far as metrics go. And then you also have one thing that Brady fucking loves, and it's almost like a prerequisite. You want to take a guess what Brady needs and what he's always had for success?
Oh, man. Put me on the spot. What you got?
Okay, well,
what are you thinking?
You definitely need great offensive line. Definitely need run game. And you definitely need tight end. So all those, Niners and the Titans, they got that. But the one thing the Titans got over the Niners is the gritty white slot receiver. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They got Adam Humphries over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Brady's like, you know what? Sign me up. You know what I mean? He's like, look, Adam Humphries. And they wanted to get Adam Humphries, bring him over to New England.
In New England, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And here's the thing too with the Niners. You know what I'm saying? Like, I definitely believe that Brady would have made those throws in the fourth quarter in the Super Bowl. I definitely believe he would have got those third downs in the fourth quarter in the Super Bowl. But other than that, it's like maybe I'm a loyalist to Jimmy G, but as a fan, at the end of the day, I'm gonna love whoever's at the helm. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And
right?
But I mean, I feel for you. I'm not a Cowboy, but I feel for you. It has to be Dak. They cannot fool around. You know what I mean?
Right.
And mind you, Dak's agent isn't even letting him go talk to nobody. You know what I mean? Because I believe Frank Reich and the Colts, they actually were serious about, wanting to talk to Dak. And you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for all the good reasons. Going back to the Tom Brady thing, you bring up San Francisco and you bring up Tennessee, who are definitely on my list of potential landing spots. Ultimately, like you said, I don't think he is going anywhere. I think this is all just kind of a crazy smoke show, and I think he's soaking it in. But another team that I would add to that list, and I don't know if you've considered it at all, but I think the Chargers. I think that the only thing that they're really lacking over there is
the line.
A solid off line.
Yep, exactly.
But I think you can move. I think you can move the right pieces to be able to accommodate that type of thing. They just signed Austin Eckler, who you and I both know, being on the fantasy side. I thought really early on that he was going to be just fine as the RB1, and he took that and he ran with it. So they definitely got the defense over there. The only thing, of course, they got the talent with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, Hunter Henry being there, another tight end.
They'll probably franchise tag Henry too. You know what I mean? Yep.
Right. And
I really like that call. And they got the defense.
Another big thing with this is, Giselle, I think is how you say it, Tom's wife.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure she wants out of the freaking nasty cold. So she would love to go. I'm sure that they probably got a house.
Oh, yeah.
In California. So, it's just one of those things that I think is more accommodating. I think that the sell to the family is difficult when you're talking about somewhere like Tennessee. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
I'll tell you this much.
I think it's ultimately a smoke show.
I am enjoying Tom Brady right now, kind of trolling NFL fans.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, because like for example, shortly after the Super Bowl, he went to like a derby, like a horse race somewhere in Tennessee, and he jumped in an Uber, which is funny because before I even tell the story, this totally sounds made up because I don't see Tom Brady jumping in an Uber, but supposedly TB12 jumps in an Uber and he talks to this driver and he's like, yeah, man, my wife's out here looking at schools for my children. You know what I mean? Like, and then he's at the UFC fight with, in Vegas, and he's seen talking with, what's his name, Bowl Cut.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. He's seen talking to the Bowl Cut. You know what I mean? And then, of course they're at the UFC fight, but it doesn't mean he ain't gonna leave with the information that he can get $60 million for 2 years. You know what I mean? And bro, they got Hunter Renfrow over there. That's a gritty slot wide receiver if I've ever seen one, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yep, absolutely.
They got Darren Waller, they got Josh Jacobs, but they don't got that defense. But
absolutely.
Yeah, but it is a crazy wide open market that the media and the league and everyone's excited to actually, pump. So I could even see the NFL wanting a name like Brady to go to Vegas, wanting, because they needed some kind of draw. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, no offense to Derek Carr, but I don't think his Christian ass is even going to enjoy too much being in Vegas with all that sin going on.
He's not going to take the advantage of it.
No.
Yeah.
No. And with Brady, Brady is coming from the evil empire, right?
Right.
What better place than to go to Vegas where you could send your opponents, call girls and hookers and shit, and hopefully they'll get in trouble. And Vegas will be one of those places where it's like, you go to New England in the December, the weather is part of the team, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where it's like now you got to play against Brady and the weather, but now it's like, you know what I'm saying? You got to go and play up against sin. You know what I mean? You got all these hookers out there and drugs and shit. You got the eye in the sky and facial recognition in every camera. You're not gonna be able to get away with shit. You know what I mean?
That's right.
If I'm right.
At him, huh?
Oh yeah, go ahead and throw some hookers at them. Get them in some trouble. Boom.
Yeah.
It's a Super Bowl in the bag. You know what I mean? Just suspensions running rampant. You know what I'm saying?
That's good stuff.
You know what I'm saying? See, and that's the kind of riveting analysis you get right here on the Real Fantasy Playmakers.
You
Oh man.
Oh, that's good stuff.
So
man.
okay,
That's good stuff.
what about Coop?
Ultimately, it's going to be hard to see him go anywhere, man. We're just going to have to see this thing play out. It's going to be fun to see, though.
Okay, so real quick, back to your Cowboys. I know you said it gets under your skin being a through and through a Cowboy, as anyone should. Everyone should stick with your team through and through. You know what I mean? Like, shout out to any Browns fans out there. You know what I mean? Shout out to any Bengals fans. Shout out to any Lions, Buccaneers. You know what I mean? Like, hey, man, my hat's off. Like me as a Niner, we've been on the quest for six for about 26 years, and just even labeling it the quest for six, playoffs and Super Bowl losses, that's not good enough. We need to get that sixth. You know what I'm saying? And but you know what? Still grateful to be faithful. There's no way I'm gonna switch up on any other team. But thanks for fantasy, it makes me love and appreciate these players on other teams. You know what I mean? Because matter of fact, when the last bad Niner era. You know what I'm saying? Or the end of it was 2013? That was the year I started fantasy. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? It was just cool because I paid attention to football, loved it, but I would only scout the teams that my Niners were about to play. And then by the time I got into fantasy, my team was so bad, I was like, it was the first time I grasped streaming, you know what I mean? Where I was like, wow, I love my team so much, I can start everyone against them and I love them even more. I'm like, man, I love my guys. They're helping me out, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just streaming everyone against that bad defense for years. And you know what I mean? It was like, even with this year, it was unexpected. And it's one of those things, like, even losing the Super Bowl, if it wasn't, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, you know what I mean? I probably would have been more devastated because it's like, man, they're so the truth, and we really didn't have, any expectations of getting that far, let alone being a contender with Jimmy coming off the ACL, and it's just so many different. Same thing with the Cowboys. Like, I never looked at the Cowboys or even Dak Prescott as someone, fantasy viable for me to, nothing more than a streaming option. And then with Kellen Moore coming in, a former QB himself, it's like, we're going to draw up all these passing plays. We're going to go ahead and get Dak this money. You know what I mean? And next thing you know, we see Dak shredding it. You see a lot of more hurry up offense. And it kind of opens up to what your boy, what's his name, McCarthy coming in. Because, coming from Rodgers in that system that he ran with Rodgers, a ton of hurry up and no huddle. And then also with all that said, man, you like I said, it might be frustrating being a Cowboys fan, but it's definitely a time you could breathe deep again because there's no more Jason Garrett clapping on the goddamn sidelines. You know what I'm saying?
Big time breath of fresh air, man. I couldn't tell you. I mean, Coach McCarthy was first. I say first, but definitely second on my list. I was really hoping we would go after Ron Rivera. Big fan of Ron Rivera.
I like that too because your guys' defense could use a guy like Ron Rivera. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally agree. But definitely a breath of fresh air when you talk about bringing in Coach McCarthy. I'm excited to see what the offense is going to look like. I think we're going to have a similar identity. I really hope that Ezekiel Elliott. I was pretty frustrated with the amount of money that we gave him.
Yeah.
I just think nowadays you can really make it. You can really make a deep run in the playoffs as we saw this year. I mean, we had not D'Angelo Williams. We had
Run DMC. Who else? Are we talking about this year or just in years past?
Yeah. No. I'm talking about this year. We're talking about you guys had Raheem Mostert. And the Kansas City Chiefs had, why am I going?
They had them all. They had Damian Williams. They had Shady McCoy. They had Darrell Williams.
You see those teams really making a run deep in the playoffs with just kind of a system, a 1-2 punch type of thing. So when we signed off on Ezekiel Elliott, I'm glad we kept him. I hate how much it ended up costing us, but ultimately, I just hope that we can get him more productive. He looked a little sluggish to me this year. I know he had a decent year, but I just hope we get him back to where he was the past couple of seasons. And like I said, I think we're just going to have a similar identity overall. Just hope we get all the right pieces involved.
We need to get basically what you're telling me is we need to get Zeke, rocking them goddamn crop tops again. Because when he's doing that, you know he's in tip top shape because he's showing off the abs. You know what I mean? I ain't seen him in no crop top recently. You know what I mean?
I'm telling you, he had one too many tacos in Mexico, I think.
Right? And you would think all the Mexican meat out there would be chock full of steroids. You know what I'm saying? maybe that's why he's going out there to, you know what I'm saying, to bulk up a little bit. You know, like, hey man, I'm just eating tacos. You know what I'm saying?
Right, man.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I just hope we find a way to get that back around. Find that identity again. Set the run game. We still have one of the most solid offensive lines.
Oh yeah.
In the league right now. So I really like the direction we're heading in. Even on the defensive side of the ball. So as disappointing of a season as it was for us this year, I'm hoping to have a huge bounce back, and we'll just kind of sweep this one under the rug.
Right? You know what? What about Coop? Coop's definitely gonna get one of the tags. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I kind of feel for the guy because I think he's just gonna get tagged this year, and then we'll see Michael Gallup continue to develop, and then they'll just let Coop fly the coop. You know what I mean? Pun intended. You know what I mean?
No. I can see that happening. Michael Gallup came in, and I'm really shocked us all, right? I mean, I remember doing a lot of my fantasy analysis.
Bro, he was like a double-digit round guy in redraft.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Or was he drafted?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm pretty sure around your parts, he definitely was picked up because you're in cowboy country, and even though I'm from the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? We definitely do have a gang of Cowboys, and I do have one in my league, and I can never seem to get no Cowboys because I mean he's just he's the homer guy in there just snack. But
not like the same guy that probably drafted Jason Witten, I would imagine, huh?
Oh yeah, or at least as a second tight end for sure. You know what I'm saying?
But I'm right there with you. Michael Gallup really came in and shocked a lot of us. I definitely wasn't expecting it. Doing my just kind of early on analysis of wide receivers, he definitely wasn't on my radar. Didn't know much about the guy coming into the season, so I really liked what I saw from him. So I'm hoping that that he keeps things rolling. But I can definitely see where you're coming from. Can Michael Gallup really be that number one, especially when you talk about bringing, the whole conversation about this whole Des Bryant thing. Now I know we're getting,
no, let's talk about it because Des Bryant he's a what's the word I'm looking for? He's a polarizing player. You know what I mean? I mean, for God's sakes, Jerry Jones, he's washing his ass in the shower. He can't stop thinking about him. You know what I mean? He's like, you know what? We know what we need here. We need Dez. In the middle of the shower, he's like, Steven, get Dez on the phone. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I think, coming off of that, maybe it took a couple years to come off that Achilles. I mean, not everyone could be Emmanuel Sanders, Colonel Sanders himself, heir to the KFC empire, you know what I mean? Who just comes back off a torn Achilles like nothing happened. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, everyone's, built different.
Like he gained a step, right?
Yeah, it's odd, you know what I mean? Maybe he's eating that good Mexican meat, you know what I mean? He's,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Quite possibly.
Oh,
but
yeah.
No, man, I'm really entertaining the conversation of this happening because, I'm a big Des Bryant fan. Man, I've got 4 Cowboy jerseys and 3 of them are Des Bryant. So, so it's just one of those things that, and I'm trying not to be a fanboy about it. I'm trying to think of it from a beneficial standpoint to the team. But here's my thing. I draw the line at Des Bryant is a dog. I mean, He is a freaking dog. He's going to fight, and then you talk about a guy like Amari Cooper who was pulled in, I can't remember which game it was, the New York Jets game when we needed him the most.
He was just...
It's like he had no fight in him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and even the Eagles game with the division on the line, in the last drive on the end, mind you, this is seared into my memory because, I'm in a Superflex Super Bowl and Dak is my second quarterback, and I had an option between Dak and the Red Rifle that morning, and the Red Rifle played at 10 in that morning. 10 o'clock Pacific Standard, and then Dak came on at the 1 o'clock slot, and I was just like, man, I couldn't not ride Dak Dak got me there. And then, that last drive, they just not having Cooper on the field and not even having Gallup, if I remember correctly. And I was just like, man.
No, I think Gallup was the only one.
Oh, he was the only
Gallup
one.
Was
oh, that's right. It was him and Cobb that were.
And Cobb, Randall Cobb, yeah.
And you know what? With Cobb being familiar with the system, so I could still see them keeping him around because obviously he played in that system at Green Bay. But with someone like Dez Bryant, and granted, even in his last couple seasons with the Cowboys, he lacked the separation, that he had in years prior. And, he was still that big body guy, could box him out. But you double cover him and, it was a wrap. But I think if they bring him back and they make him, predominantly a slot guy, he could be that big slot. I think, you know what I mean? Then I could see him
something like Larry Fitzgerald. I'm not saying he's going to play to the level of Larry Fitzgerald.
But in their elder years of their career, go ahead and move them to the slot because, they're savvy. Because, come on, I don't want to say he was a one-trick pony, but, that back shoulder fade, it went away with Romo. You know what I mean? That was their shit. You know what I mean? Just boom, back shoulder fade all day. Throw the X up. You know what I mean? But
lethal. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
But I'm definitely entertaining it big time, man. I just think that that he would bring that dog mentality to the offense, bring it back. I know Ezekiel Elliott really wants to be that tone setter, but I think that that Dez can really come in and kind of help that out. You know what I mean? Get things fired up, and I just think that it could be nothing but beneficial. And let's get real. How much would we really pay him? He just wants a shot.
Yeah, you ain't lying. And coming off that type of injury and with all these question marks, he definitely will have an incentive-driven contract. And I think, even, like you said, he's a fiery guy. He'll be able to, bring that spark. And, if you're outside the Cowboys, you would look at that as not passion. You would be like, he's what's the word? They think he's crazy. When you when Dez used to get crazy on the sideline, and then they'd be like, no, he's passionate. You know what I mean? So I think these other teams are, they might not, or maybe even the Saints, because they already took a shot at one point. You know what I mean? So other than that, I think the Cowboys are one of the only people that, where this really has some validity to it. You know what I mean? Of him coming back.
Right, and then a big thing, talking just outside of the Cowboys. If somebody's in the market for somebody like Dez Bryant, another team that comes to mind is the Baltimore Ravens. But then another thing that I take into consideration big time is this draft class has a
ton of receivers.
Yeah, a lot of receivers, and a lot of receivers that could fall to you in the second or third round that could end up being beneficial. Some big body guys, running full force. And we saw how well, DK Metcalf, even AJ Brown, coming into the draft, everybody knew that they were good athletes. Nobody really knew the seasons that they would have as rookies, but and I don't understand that. We're still talking about Henry Ruggs being somebody who's going to be highly drafted this year. Who had a very similar, now I know he came from Alabama and he was highly productive in that system, but same build as somebody like John Ross, and then you think about,
the durability and
right. Give me the big guy who can go up and potentially make that play. We see guys like Dez, Larry Fitzgerald's been doing it forever. So DK Metcalf and AJ Brown come in and, I just don't see why the conversation ventures into that short, quick, good route running, fast guy. When at the end of the day, you just need somebody who's going to go up and make a play. Yeah,
you bring in Dez. If I had it my way, you bring in Dez. He'd play predominantly out of the slot. He'd probably be like a 50 reception guy, maybe let's say 70, or maybe let's say 45 receptions. 75 to 80 targets, and then I could easily put him in the double-digit touchdowns, but he'll have 400 to 500 yards receiving, because I think a possession guy is what they could morph him into, or even just that red zone target that could box out guys. You know what I mean? Hit him with that 50-50 ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And a lot of people sleep on how well of a blocker he was.
It's true.
So I can definitely agree with you being in the slot and picking up some of those dirty guys at the linebacker position and hoping Ezekiel Elliott can make a play.
There also is a scenario too where, free agency comes and goes. He still doesn't have a team, and then the Cowboys eventually do sign him. But then he has to go through the ringer to even make the team. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Because it is a new regime. It is, you know what I mean? And maybe the love for Dez Bryant doesn't really, maybe it doesn't spill off into this new regime. And, as much as Jerry Jones is in the shower washing his ass thinking about it, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
But then again too, Jerry Jones, he'll push a button, you know what I mean? Like, look, listen here, we're pushing this Dez Bryant button. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
Yeah,
it's a big possibility, man. It's a big possibility. So we'll have to see how that one goes, man. But we'll see.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, in the conversation of fantasy, you know what I mean? Let me know what kind of leagues do you play in? Do you, obviously, PPR is like a preferred. It's kind of like the new standard. You know what I mean? Like. So let me know what kind of leagues you play in.
So I play in no smaller than 12. I was in 5 leagues this year.
Mm-hmm.
None of them smaller than 12. One of them, my biggest league, going up into the 14 teams. That was that's always fun because these guys always all know what
it's
they're
grind
doing.
time.
Right. That's definitely my most intriguing league, just because a lot of those guys really know, what to do. They've been playing fantasy football since Emmitt Smith and all those guys. I don't know, maybe not that long, but you know what I'm saying. A bunch of old heads that really know what they're doing. So we're big fans of the PPR. I really haven't gotten into the dynasty yet, man. I hear that being a big thing, but I wanted to start my own up, but
it's really hard to find, especially, I really don't like my one keeper league. It's 10 teams, and it's nine other individuals that they're captive. They're obsessed. They're enthusiasts like myself. So what I mean, like. It's never a dull moment in the off season because you could trade picks and whatnot, and but see, dynasty, it's like it's another one of those things where it's like you got like 28 players, and I myself I don't have a dynasty league either. My partner in crime, shout out to the Guru, he's our dynasty guy. You know what I mean? He's in a handful of dynasty leagues. You know what I'm saying? One of them actually got passed on from his father. And, he has a son, and he's like, bro, you need to start one. Because, I have a little man now. My little man's 1 year old now. And he's like, you got to get in dynasty, bro. You're going to need to pass on the torch one day. And it's just like, I so want to get into dynasty, but I don't want to just jump into a dynasty league online or half guys I know, half I don't. Because that's something like, I like to go all in. And I want to be able to pick up that phone and call a motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, yo, bro, I want that 1-1 this year. You know what I mean? I got, you know what I'm saying? I might call up the Cowboy Homer and be like, yo, they just signed Dez Bryant, bro. I got him. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then use him as a throw-in for a trade or something. You know what I mean? Like, that's one thing that's cool about Dynasty. You know what I mean? And obviously there's only one draft and it's just for the rookies. But, it's just one of those things because I am obsessed, and I do want to be involved in fantasy all year round. You know what I mean? And because I'm already following it enough. You know what I mean? Shit, I'm doing a podcast for God's sakes. You know what I mean? Like,
right. No, absolutely. Yeah. And it's just so hard to find that community, man. I mean, like you said, the community that's willing to continue to stay involved. And a big thing for me, and like I said, I played in the 5 leagues this year. But another thing, and I don't know if it's just because of the guys that I play with, but nobody trades. Every trade that's out there, nobody accepts it. It's never good enough.
You're obviously one of the big hitters in your leagues. Like you're one of the guys who people keep an eye on. I'm assuming.
Right.
Yeah. So they never letting you get no trades off.
Yeah. No, yeah. And that's true. That's true. And it's frustrating because like bro, do you realize how much this player will help out your team? And you're telling me no. And I just want to take a shot on the guy you got sitting on your bench, you know?
Let's talk about that. Let's talk. What do you think could make a league better to induce more trades? Like what? I have a couple takes, but what do you think would help your league in particular to get, besides just removing the veto? Because
right.
veto is kind of necessary to a degree, even though I'm totally against it.
Right. It's hard for me because I only host one league, and let me tell you, that shit is hard enough already. Like just the one league. So the people that do the hosting the multiple leagues, props to them, because boy, that hosting the league thing was pretty tough in my opinion. But I didn't really give it much thought, man. I really haven't thought about that very much. That's just always something that's just kind of irritated me when talking about the fantasy football side is, nobody's willing to be aggressive and make a trade. And I say that, but there were some trades that I declined, but just because I felt, I remember somebody reached out to me about David Johnson multiple times, trying to offer me like,
and you were so
back in a couple.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And he was killing it those first 2 or 3 weeks. So, I'm like, hell no. He was my first pick in the first round.
Yeah.
So
you have that kind of draft capital attached to it where you're like, look.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. So he laughed at me at the end of the season, obviously, but that's just one of the things that you kind of live with. But at the end of the day, when you're talking about a deal, and I think it's just, and it's hard because there's always that one guy that says, oh, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I watch football. I know who, whatever the case may be. And then
or they think you're trying to rip them off.
He has no idea who, let's just say Michael Gallup is. He doesn't know how beneficial of a player he could be when you start talking about the bye weeks coming around the corner and injuries becoming a thing, adding depth. So it's hard, man. So I'm gonna flip that question on you. What do you think? You help me out here.
Okay, well here's one of the things I definitely did. So one of the things I did was we normally had 5 bench spots in a 12-team super flex. So what I did was I added one more bench spot because that immediately lessened the player pool. So you know what I mean? And it's this worked in a super flex because every quarterback is owned. You know what I mean? So and in a super flex, even though you don't, it's not mandatory to start 2, people are going to. And so once these bye weeks start coming around, you start seeing movement happen more because people want to, they want these quarterbacks, you know what I mean? And especially every year, you have the 32 starters, but then you have the crop of rookies. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like I might be holding on to a rookie and you got the starter. And this guy just had a bad game. And I'm like, hey, bro, they might bench him. You might need whoop, whoop, whoop. You know what I mean? You might need this guy right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to, I think, with the lessening the player pool to a degree, you know what I mean? It definitely helps. Also, removing the veto. That if you can do nothing but do that, and then trades will run rampant. But you still have to have a solid commissioner who has integrity where you could look at say I'm trading away Michael Gallup for Michael Gallup and Cole Beasley, right? On the Bills, right? And for Michael Thomas, you know what I mean? And people be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they start throwing in the towel and all that bullshit.
Yeah, and they be like, yo, that's not, maybe that's a poor example, but you get what I'm saying. A top tier guy for a not so top tier guy. And even though you're packaging them up, you know what I'm saying? Because this guy might need more receivers. You know what I mean? He might need, or you might have something he needs, like something rare, like a tight end. You might have a top tier tight end. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, if you say you drafted Kelsey last year, then you go ahead and you get Mark Andrews or Darren Waller in the double digit rounds. And then, you're like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and move Kelsey now because Darren Waller's balling out, right? And then you're over here, trying to attack someone's best player, but you're giving them a need. And then the trade goes through, but then you got the opponent of the guy who's making the trade, and he's the one blowing the whistle, like, hey, because he really don't want to play against that. Oh, he's making his team better, well,
Right.
hey guys, look what's going on. And then, and then if, for most Yahoo leagues, it only takes 4 vetoes. So really you only need, the one guy to decide, hey, I'm going to veto this. Then I'm going to go call the guy who's playing that guy who's making a trade. He will veto it. Then he go and call the other guy and he will veto it. And then it's like trades never get made.
On you.
Yeah. And then,
no, absolutely.
or here's another thing, because man, you got to fight fire with fire. If these motherfuckers are, just like in any league, you're going to have these mini factions, these little alliances, right? So I say have every alliance that you could have. You know what I mean? Like I'm like in all my leagues, you have the group thread for every league. But then I got my little sub threads. You know what I mean? You right? And like, because I'm so active and I'm being active, like in this particular league I was talking about, you know what I mean? I made 13 trades. I've never made more than 3 trades in a league, period. I don't think I've ever even made 13 out of 5 leagues combined in a season, right? Let alone for one team. And like, yeah. And what we did was we shortened it to 24 hours. And no, my bad. The 48 hours. I think that's the shortest you can make it. And like, so I would work the trade all week, then have it sent, once it's agreed upon, have said manager go ahead and accept the trade on a Friday night. You know what I'm saying? And preferably close to a midnight, whatever time you're at. Whether it's Pacific Standard, whatever, just right before midnight. Go ahead and make that trade. Then you'll get your guy shortly after midnight on a Saturday. And most people are busy on a Friday, Saturday, unless they're monitoring injuries or something, just any kind of reason to look at their phone. Friday and Saturday nights kind of give you that buffer, like, okay, everyone's busy. They're doing things. We can go try to sneak this trade off. You know what I mean? And not to say that the trade's not even fair by any means. It's just because people, and most of these guys, this is what kills me. It's like, you don't want to get active making trades, but you want to get active, putting an effort to stop the trades. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I definitely am with you on that. I definitely play with a few of those guys. But at the end of the day, what can you do? I'm not the guy to jump out and say anything. That's for sure.
Also, you never know, man. I mean, like, a motherfucker could step outside and slip on a goddamn banana peel. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then, like, he's hurt, and you're like, and then you came up on the trade. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you never know. It's any given Sunday for real. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. And and I'm glad you said that. I like to think of myself knowing a lot about fantasy football, like I'm sure you do too. But there's definitely.
There's definitely variables and intangibles and all kind of shit that you can't measure.
There's definitely several things you got to keep in consideration when you're talking about different players. And one that came back to bite me in the ass, and I didn't have any idea that it was the whole David Johnson getting beat out by Kenyon Drake thing, and a couple of other things. Juju Smith-Schuster. I think I had both of them on one of my teams this past season. Hurt me big time. Traded away Julio Jones for some depth at the wide receiver and running back position in that league, because he's coming off 2 or 3 back-to-back games with no touchdowns, not very good yardage, and it's like, well, he's not helping me out at all. Might as well get somebody, 2 or 3 players that could potentially pop off.
You want to know, real quick, I have a Julio Jones take, and I think with that system, with Dirk Cutter over there, that system, if you remember in recent history, so Dirk Cutter, he was with Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the past couple seasons before this prior 2019, right? And he went back to the Falcons, who he was there with the old regime with Mike Smith. You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Right? And so if you remember, the Dirk Cutter system, it definitely supports 2 wide receivers. Not as much as it supports one main guy. So in this case, you have the 1A, 1B with Ridley and Jones, or Jones and Ridley in that order. But it's really predicated on the tight end position. So if you go back to his days in Atlanta with the old regime, it was obviously Tony Gonzalez. Even though he's a Hall of Famer, still Tony Gonzalez. You know what I mean? Then you had Cameron Brate. O.J. Howard. They even, before those guys, they drafted Austin Seferian-Jenkins. You know what I mean? This year, guess what? Austin Hooper was a thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he emerged
And, like,
big time. Yeah.
Definitely took away from Julio Jones. So that was actually a pretty good trade, you know, depending on what the time of year you moved him, because like you said, he had a couple bad games. And that's one thing too, playmakers, when you're making a trade just in general, if you want one of those big name guys, just keep an eye on those big name players. And when they have consecutive bad weeks, maybe even a month straight, just as soon as they have one bad week, how about that? As soon as they have one bad week, start pounding those trade offers, because recency bias is a real thing. Even
and I'm right there with you, and I'm not even saying buy low. I mean, make a decent offer out there, and you would think, right? You would think somebody bites.
I'll give a decent trade up.
Yeah.
I'll give a decent player up, or an extreme need for said manager. Like, hey, bro, you need this. Let me go ahead and get Julio Jones up off you, because he's giving you a headache. Like, you know what's crazy? Last season, I didn't have any DeAndre Hopkins. But then, by season's end, I had him 3 out of 5 of my leagues, because recency bias was real. I was just pounding those trade offers till someone came up off of him. You know what I mean? Because they were, like, tired of dealing with the headache. You know what I mean?
Yep. And, somebody their first pick on them or second pick or whatever, and they just didn't feel like they were getting the value out of it. So, yeah, that's a great move.
And there's the inverse of that, where if I have a top tier player and, you know, name value like a Julio Jones, and he's not doing Julio Jones things, I'm gonna move him off of name value alone. You know what I mean? And that's where it works too. Where, like, hey, don't go try to take the guy's best guy whose recency bias is going off, and you're like, here's Julio Jones with recency bias of doing bad. No, go ahead and make a decent trade, because so you can just give up a headache. And also don't try not to trade laterally. You know what I mean? Because if someone's trading laterally, like, hey, I have Michael Thomas, and you have Devontae Adams, and say in this case Devontae Adams just came off that injury. Remember that? Right. And I'm like, and Michael Thomas might have had like 2 bad games or something. And I'm like, I think I want Devontae Adams.
If that.
Yeah, if I'm a guy who likes to, because first of all, I'm not a veto button pushing motherfucker. I'm not that guy, because I'm steady trying to get my own trades off. But if I was one of those guys and I seen that, I'd be like, man, this is some bullshit. It's like they're just, like they're basically swapping the same guy essentially. So like those type of trades get vetoed. You know what I mean? Obviously the one-sided looking trades get vetoed. But I'd say, in a nutshell, if you remove veto altogether, and then it's just an understanding that, you know what I mean, if the league sees a trade that doesn't see fit as fair, then that's time for the commissioner to step down and veto it. But other than that, no one, I mean, mind you, if you got a goddamn crystal ball, let me see that thing. You know what I'm saying? Right. Let me go ahead and take a gander at it, because we all don't know the future. You know what I mean?
Exactly, man, for sure. Great point, brother.
Yeah. All right. So going back to the Cowboys, right? You know what I'm saying? We'll talk a little Homer shit, because I know my Niners, my division is going up against your division next year. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping it's in Dallas, because that's one of my bucket lists. It is? Okay, good. Because that's one of my bucket list things to do is go to a away game, but definitely go to one of our unnatural enemies. You know what I mean? Like, even though
be that guy.
Oh yeah, we're unnatural enemies. It's more like we're legacy enemies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Team of the 80s versus team of the 90s, baby. Come on.
Right? You know what I'm saying? And you know what's one thing too is, I hate that we lost the Super Bowl, obviously, but it's even harder to get back there. But the fact that we're playing the NFC East, which is chock full of new coaches and questionable defenses, and we're going up against also the AFC East, so it could be a Tom Brady-less Patriots, with Adam Gase run Jets, and Buffalo definitely on the rise, but then also Miami still rebuilding, and questions all across the board. I kind of like my chances of my Niners, you know what I mean, at least getting back to the dance, you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
But you gotta love that for your Cowboys too. I mean, you guys we're playing the same schedule essentially. You know what I mean?
Essentially, yeah, essentially for sure. man, it's. Let me tell you, going back to you possibly going to a road game. I haven't been to any road games, just football, and I've been to Cowboy Stadium a handful of times to watch several games. The biggest game I went to was playoff game 2 years ago against the Seahawks.
Against the Seahawks. Ooh, that was a good one.
Great game.
Man. When Hearns busted his whole shit.
Oh yeah, bro.
That was gruesome.
That was they were showing it on the big old jumbotron, and man, brutal.
Man.
I had to go grab a beer.
How is okay? So describe Jerry's World to me, because that like I said, it's on my bucket list. I gotta go to Jerry's World.
Sure, man, unbelievable. You don't realize how big it is, obviously, till you pull up. Then you see the building, and you're like, damn, that's a pretty big place. Well, you don't realize how big it is inside of there until you finally get inside of there and you start walking around. You see the field, and you just start seeing a couple of different angles. The games that I've gone to have all been evening time, sunset time, so I've been seeing that really bad glare sometimes that you see. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You hear the commentators talking about, and they're going up the field with the glare in their face, or whatever the case may be. But man, it's gorgeous, man. It's definitely an experience that's it's hard to explain, but it's a beautiful. They don't get any nicer than that, really. There's a couple of different places. Now that I see how nice, obviously, the Cowboy Stadium, AT&T Stadium is, it really makes me want to take a look at, what do you guys, Levi Stadium now?
Yeah.
Levi Stadium.
I'll tell you this much. The past couple years, you know what I mean? It was just like a place we go watch our team, you know what I mean? And like this past season, it kind of started to feel like home again, you know what I mean? Like it kind of was reminiscent of Candlestick,
Okay.
you know what I mean? And like, just having a playoff game with every seat packed in the house for once, because I'll tell you that much, even during the winning season, there were still some of those games like the Atlanta game or the I forget, there was another game where it was like, you still seen some empty seats, you know what I mean? But like that playoff, I went to both playoff games at home.
Oh wow,
man, that place was rocking, bro. Like it's.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah,
man. Like I'm definitely being able to see it, in with something on the line. It's like, wow, it's kind of like I feel bad for the opposing teams coming through, because it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's like Seattle or Arrowhead by any means, but like those are places when you go there, the noise is part of something you have to play through. You know what I mean? And like,
fans are ruthless.
Oh yeah, and bruh, like Kirk Cousins, he couldn't get a read off. Aaron Rodgers couldn't do it. And, it was amazing. You know what I mean? Like,
they were chirping out his ass all game.
Oh yeah. It was some shit.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. Well, man, you know what? To close up this Homer talk, how about Niners and Cowboys NFC Championship? All right.
Let's do it.
we ain't mad at that.
That would be sweet. How cool would that be, bro? Just bring it back for one more time, man. One more time. And I think about it, and I think about it just realistically, and bro, all I want to see is just, I'm 26 right now. I've seen a lot of the good, bad, and the ugly. Unfortunately, more ugly than good. But man, I just hope to see us back back on that stage again, man. I really do.
I'm kind of the same as you in that sense where, my Niner fandom is from my family. You know what I'm saying? Like my family, they came from another country, came to San Francisco in '78. So they were there through all the Joe Montana years. I was born in '84. So by the time, I was paying attention to football, and what I'm saying, I was in elementary school, and it was Steve Young. And so I got to see him win the Super Bowl. And then since then, it was just kind of like, just chasing that. You know what I mean? And kind of like for you, the triplets and all that shit already. You were a kid, you were a wee type.
Man,
huh?
I missed all of that. I didn't really miss it. I was born, but I wasn't, old enough to know really what was going on.
You might have been that good luck charm as the baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. No, but man, I just hope to see us there again, man. Ultimately, so.
Yeah, and you know what? With someone like Mike McCarthy, he has championship pedigree. You know what I mean? And I could say this over Shanahan, which I hate to say because, right now Shanahan's get up is losing the big ones. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, unfortunately, man.
I know, right? In the same exact fashion, basically,
Yep.
twice.
Exactly. I hope he's able to recover from that, man. I think he's one of the great young minds in the game right now. So it's just crazy, man. It's funny. I think about this a lot, and I like to think I know a lot of football. But man, you see some of the things that some of these guys think of, and you're just like, man, that's genius. I wouldn't have never, whatever
Right.
blitz they're dialing up, or I know he's on the offensive side of the ball, but whatever, different plays, different running schemes, whatever the case may be, guy's a genius.
Yeah, a ton of motions. Like, I think we led the league in highest percentage of motions before snap. And you know what? What's tight too is we've seen a lot of that out of the Cowboys with Kellen Moore running that thing. You know what I mean? You see
as
more-
of late.
Yeah, because for the most part, Garrett was kind of vanilla. Like, Jason Garrett's the guy. He goes up into Baskin Robbins. He's like, and they're like, we have all this. We have Cherry. We have Rocky Road. And he's like, give me vanilla. You know what I mean? Like,
Not even the fancy one? No, just the vanilla.
No, give me plain. Give me plain vanilla. Not even the French vanilla. You know what I mean? I don't want that imported shit. You know what I mean? And it's like you got a guy who essentially could bring some flavor. Because obviously there's the Mike McCarthy knock where it's like, oh, he couldn't win it with the Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers. But I mean, Aaron Rodgers at that point, he wasn't even doing nothing McCarthy wanted to do. You know what I mean? It was almost like he was doing everything to get rid of Mark McCarthy.
To get rid of him. Yeah. I'm right with you.
Yeah, and I'm all for fresh starts. You know what I mean? I'm actually glad for the Cowboys, skill position guys. They kind of finished the way they did, including Dak. Even though you look at their numbers, they all did great. But recency bias is people's, the eye test, and like they kind of fell off. And I like that in the fantasy perspective because, you know what I mean? Like, you look at Dak. Dak is always a later round QB in fantasy, and like. After say he got to the playoffs, he would have been bumped up into like, the 6th, 7th, 8th round, especially for a Cowboy fan, you know what I mean? But now it's like you're still going to get value out of someone like Dak in the draft. You're still going to get value out of someone like Gallup. And I think a lot of owners who had Cooper, they appreciated him, but as much good that he did for your fantasy team, all the donuts and all the injuries, that shit's going to weigh heavier on recency bias. So all those former Cooper owners this year, they're probably going to be off him. So Cooper's probably going to drop too. Like, I mean, as far as Cooper's career in the NFL correlates with his draft capital in fantasy, he's always been a mid to late third rounder. And, I'm not mad at Cooper in the back of the 4th round or even 5th round because I think that's where his value is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would definitely agree with you. Like you said, a lot of the good was awesome, but some of those bad days, man, they really were bad days. And I think that they hurt you in the worst times, trying to get back into the playoff race. So I really think that it probably left a bad taste in a lot of, especially the big fantasy football heads. I'm sure it left a really bad taste in their mouth because, coming into the season, Dak Prescott was among the top quarterbacks. So I can definitely see what you're saying, leaving a bad taste in everybody's mouth because they really did hurt you in some of the worst times.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, before I let you go, you know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and sound off some players that you're excited for that maybe had a bad year or maybe like he's on the rise, like, you know what I mean? And go ahead and give me a receiver.
Wide receiver. Man, I'm gonna have to stick in San Francisco, man. The involvement that Deebo Samuel had this season, and the involvement that he had, especially in the playoffs. You see how that they used him a lot in the run game in the Super Bowl.
The jet sweeps,
so
and
I'm really liking the way that they were able to get him involved. He's definitely a guy high up on my list that I wouldn't get super aggressive with him, but if I could nab him,
5th, 6th round. I mean,
easy.
Think about this. He didn't play a full complement of snaps till we traded for Emmanuel Sanders. Then it was and then he really came on and that's the thing about Shanahan is I think one thing he does is he's kind of timid towards his younger receivers. I mean, we've seen him push Pettis and then kind of let him fall off and let his confidence get destroyed. And then like with Debo, kind of eased him in. Maybe because Shanahan's system is real intricate. It might have took him half a season to get acclimated, fully before they can start throwing him out there. But I love that Debo call. I'm gonna match yours with your team, and I'm gonna say Michael Gallup. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I like Gallup. You know what I mean? I think I don't know. I know ADPs are kind of hard to call right now, but I could see him being a 6th, 7th round guy. And oh man, I think he's gonna be one of those guys that is definitely a top 24. You know what I mean? And I think he'll be a WR2 every week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hit me off.
See that.
Hit me off with a running back.
Man, running back.
Okay, real quick. How about your man? You were talking about Eckler earlier. You think Austin Powers Eckler? If they don't bring back Gordon, which it doesn't look like they're gonna do because they obviously signed. Oh wait, but mind you, you're breaking this news to me actually earlier. I didn't want to interrupt you when you're saying it, but so they actually signed Eckler.
They did sign Austin Eckler. They signed him to a 4-year deal. So that really shows me. That's what me and my guy TC, we were talking about it the other day, and TC is not real high on Austin Eckler, and I kept telling him, man, I'm telling you, the guy can get the job done. They actually signed him to a 4-year, $24.5 million deal, and then they let Melvin Gordon test the free agency water. So and I definitely think he's somebody that can come in and be that difference maker again. I mean, he didn't show me anything even after Melvin Gordon came in and had more involvement. He didn't show me anything in that time frame to where I'm thinking maybe he fell off a little bit. Maybe he's just not seeing the field as well as he was. I mean, all signs are showing me that he's a great ball player.
You know what, too? The one thing that I worry about Austin Powers Eckler is, for years, that regime, it consisted of Ken Wisenhunt and Anthony Lynn. Anthony Lynn is still there. Anthony Lynn is a former running back coach. Wherever he's at, he produces a top 5 fantasy running back. So it didn't surprise me with the absence of Melvin Gordon that Austin Eckler was doing his thing. But the one thing that worries me is that if Phillip Rivers is not there, because Phillip Rivers, he's a check down machine. You know what I mean? And also with that offensive line being, kind of trash, he did have to get it out quick. So he was definitely a beneficiary of all the short game. Also with Hunter Henry getting hurt early, there was a solid, 4 weeks where it was just Eckler over the middle with all the short A-dot passes. But, Austin Eckler, I just hope that there's not too many people that's going to chase last year and then bump him up to like the second round, because his numbers would make him have a right to that second round tag or second round capital. You know what I mean? But maybe I can't really see myself getting him there. But man, I'm trying to think of a nice value running back. It's
nice value. If we're talking value, I'm really liking what I saw towards the end of the season with Miles Sanders.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah, there's a buddy of mine that's a big time Eagles fan, but Miles Sanders is definitely a guy who stepped in a big time role for after Jordan Howard went down with that lingering injury. Miles Sanders stepped in, got really involved in the passing game. Heavily involved in the running game, and he took that and ran with it.
I love that call. Hold on, let me write this down. Miles Sanders.
No, you're good.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I
kind of had to refresh my memory too.
Yeah. Because as far as the running back climate goes, you know what I mean? There's even someone like Sony Michel. You know what I mean? Like these guys who had a bad year. You know what I mean? That could be due for a bounce back season. You know what I mean? That's usually what I'm trying to look at. But it's also got to be situation. It's got to call for it. Like for example, if the Chiefs draft a running back, right, and they keep on Damian Williams, I would definitely draft Damian Williams, probably in the back of the third. Maybe early fourth. That would be the shit. And then I would go and get whatever running back that they drafted way later in the draft.
You'd have to.
Yeah, because, it's going to switch eventually. You know what I mean? And
that would be the only way I would feel comfortable getting involved in that backfield. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and or even here's another one. If say they don't get a running back, the Chiefs specifically, I'd say keep an eye on Darwin Thompson. He could very well be a thing. You know what I mean? I mean, he there was just too many heads in that backfield for an Andy Reid system that usually supports one running back. You know what I mean? And we haven't necessarily seen that since Kareem Hunt. Obviously, we've seen spurts of it with Damian Williams, but this and then also here's another one. Darrell Henderson. That's another guy, double digit rounds for sure, because there's so many people that last year there was so much hype with the Todd Gurley, injury coming into the year that people were drafting Darrell Henderson to be a thing, and they were drafting him in like 6th, 7th round, and super aggressively, people were was it every action has the exact opposite reaction? Yeah, so you overdrafted him and you got that foot in that ass. You know what I mean? Because you know what I'm saying, it's just the exact opposite of what you expected. You know what I'm saying? And with that said, Darrell Henderson, he's going to be a guy that might even go undrafted. Or if you're that Todd Gurley guy, definitely go get you some Darrell Henderson later on. And on that note, and speaking of value, I'll go to the opposite. Since we're talking about Todd Gurley, that's just one of those guys I'm going to probably completely avoid again like I did last season. You know what I mean? I'd rather not deal with the headache, you know what I mean? Especially at that position where, the next guy, depends, especially with offensive line. If the line's not good, none of those running backs will be good. You know what I mean?
Yep, no, I'm right there with you. He's definitely a guy that I'll be staying away from this year. Last year was just, the signs that Coach McVay was giving us over there, it's hard to say. What do we expect? I can't even tell you. You know what I mean? It's hard to know what we're going to expect from that. So definitely going to be somebody that, if it's an absolute steal, sure, I'll take him. But other than that, miss me with that one.
All right, how about hit me off with a late round tight end? It's like
late round tight end.
Yeah, you got the big three. Obviously, you got Kelsey, Kittle. I guess you can't really throw Ertz in that big three anymore because of the whole Dallas Goedert thing. You know what I mean? So so it basically, this is how I'm already envisioning it. It's definitely going to be Kelsey and Kittle, and in whatever order, and then Darren Waller. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And then Mark Andrews, and then the rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, so hit me off with a player.
Yeah. So it's hard to say right now. I was a big time believer in Austin Hooper coming into the season. So it's going to be hard to say kind of what to expect.
I forgot about Austin Hooper. He'll definitely be there before Mark Andrews. Like as far as ADP.
No, for sure. But that's what I'm saying. He's testing the free agency right now, so we're just going to have to kind of see with that one. But he's definitely a guy either way that I'm looking forward to. Another guy would be, I really want to see O.J. Howard bounce back. I think,
and he's the guy that might go undrafted for real, or he'll be someone's second tight end. You know what I mean?
Right. No, absolutely.
That's a good call.
So
even though I'm not really. Are you worried at all about the system being like, Bruce Arians' system never really supporting a tight end? Or are you just banking on the talent alone? Because he is.
I'm just banking on the talent alone. Plus, I know, and it's hard to say, right? Because they've got Chris Godwin and they've got Mike Evans there, who hopefully both of them come back at 100% this coming year. But how do you not get a guy like that involved? That's my only thing.
That's true.
That's kind of where I draw the line with that one. But if I'm making a huge reach, and this is the only reason I know him is because I'm a big Cowboys fan. But Blake Jarwin.
That's a good one.
Blake Jarwin last year showed flashes of, and I know I sound crazy, but he showed flashes of.
No, you ain't lying.
Of a good blocker like George Kittle, of showing great hands like Travis Kelce. He showed me those things. Real fast, very athletic, good blocker, not afraid to get into the dirty work. He's everything that I could hope for in a tight end, and I think he's a great replacement for the legend Jason Witten.
And with that said, when you're a tight end that can block, right, and block well, you're never leaving the field, and that's what you want for your tight end. You want your tight end, because tight end is very scarce, And a lot of these pass catching tight ends that are strictly like a Jordan Reed of old, or who's another good example of just a strictly okay, well, Jordan Reed's one of the only ones I can think of off the top of my head.
Jordan Reed.
Yeah, but who's just almost strictly a pass catching tight end.
Maybe Eric Ebron too.
There you go. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Eric Ebron.
Yeah.
You know, your Jack Dorals of the world. You know, you have to be able to block, so that way your opportunity is there. Because if you could block, you're not coming off the field in those goal line packages. You know what I mean? You're not coming off the field in third down packages, and that's what you want. Opportunity is key. You know what I mean? Especially for a tight end position that's real scarce. You know what I'm saying? I hit you off on one. I like Noah Fant. Noah Fant. So they just picked up Pat Shurmur, and Pat Shurmur's coming over from the Giants. Before that, he spent time with Minnesota, and I also remember him. I can go back to when he was with Cleveland. Everywhere he's at, whether it's Cleveland with Jordan Cameron, or it's or you go down to Minnesota with Rudolph all those years, or even as of lately with Evan Ingram. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Noah Fant is in line for he's in line for. I could see him being like a 90 target guy. That might be over the top, but especially with a young QB who's gonna lean on the shorter game. You know what I mean? And that would be the tight end. You know what I mean?
Passes. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I like that, man. He wasn't on my radar, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
Oh yeah, and then also Dallas Goedert. You know what I mean? I mean, I think they're obviously gonna pick up a receiver in free agency. I mean, because that's historically what the Eagles do. Whether it's Torrey Smith a couple years ago, or Mike Wallace, or last year bringing back Deshaun Jackson, I think they could bring in someone like Robbie Anderson, the Green Bean, as I like to call him. I think they could bring in someone like him, and like they still are going to religiously run 2 tight end sets. And I think Dallas Goedert could be a guy that you could pick up as your second tight end in a redraft, and it's more, or even especially if you miss out on that second tier of guys, your Hunter Henrys, your who else in that second tier. I'd still kind of put OJ Howard in that second tier. You know what I mean?
I'm right there with you. As much as that team passes the ball, I feel like you have to.
Oh yeah, you know what I mean? Especially because Jonnu Smith is another one. That's another guy.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh yeah, you know what I mean? And Jonnu Smith is one of those guys that I was real big on. He was, to me, his comp to me was Jordan Reed, but bigger. Like as far as like height and mass, he was bigger. He could block. You know what I mean? And like, hey, say Brady goes over there, man. Jonnu Smith's gonna be a player in the game, man. That
be big time relevant. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Even if it's just Tannehill. You know what I mean? Or as I like to call him, Tannis Skrill, because he's trying to get that money right now. You know what I mean? He's trying to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Ryan Tannehill went to a high school right up the road from me, man. So that was pretty cool. That's pretty cool to see him.
And you know what? I enjoy a good story. You know what I mean? It's a hell of a story, man. The journey he's been on, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's almost as good as a Dak story. Like, I actually appreciate Dak's story too. Up there with Russell Wilson. These guys that just weren't highly touted, and their game
counted out type of thing. Exactly. Already counted out. Yeah, and well deserving of the comeback player of the year for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's what they hit him off with, the comeback player of the year?
They did, yes, sir.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, deserving.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Most definitely.
Well, yeah, man. So before I let you go, man, go ahead and let the Playmakers know where they can find you, Larry. Larry. My bad, Long. I had to throw it out one more time. I just fucking.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You
guys can catch me on Instagram. I'm at @thecatch_law LAW, and then you can catch me on YouTube. I'm putting together a pretty good following over there. That's where most of my content is. I don't quite have the podcast going, but you can check out my visuals on YouTube, and that'll be at my first and last name. But I would like to point you to my Instagram first, because that would take you to a link.
Yeah. The link is in there in the bio.
Yeah, the link is So I'll just navigate you guys to my Instagram at @thecatch_law. You'll see me holding me a nice crispy Corona, just chilling on the beach in Mexico.
Nice.
Yeah, you can catch me there. Link is there. Hit the follow if you guys enjoy the content. If not, it's all good too.
And you know what I'm saying? Maybe you might want to change that picture, get you a Modelo or something, you know what I mean? Because, they motherfuckers are scared of that corona right now. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you know what I'm saying?
That's why my follow's been lagging.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and you know what, too? I apologize because I just realized I fucked up your handle in the beginning. I forgot it's not your real name. It's just your real name's on the bio. You know what I'm saying? Right. But, yes, follow him on IG. That's at the catch_law. You know what I'm saying? And by law, you know what I mean? Y'all need to follow this man. You know what I mean? We're up and coming in the game. You know what I mean? We're not hard to get a hold of. You know what I mean? For any of y'all that want, you know what I'm saying, advice, go ahead and DM us. You know what I mean? We're about networking. I mean, it's the same way that the first time I'm actually meeting you is on the show. That's a testament to our networking. And I want to say thank you again, and I appreciate you for gracing the Real Fantasy Playmakers. You are a playmaker. That's why I had to reach out. You know what I mean? And for the record, I am a Niner, and when I checked out your content, I thoroughly enjoyed the content, and then I was also intrigued to see which side of the catch you were on. You know what I mean? And you're obviously on the Cowboys side, and I love it. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely, man. Thank you very much for reaching out, man. I'm glad that we've been able to kind of get together and put this on. Hopefully, this is the first of many. I wish you nothing but the best, man. You got all my support in the world, so let's keep rocking this thing, man.
Oh, yeah, man. Once again, that was my guest, our very special guest, right here on the Real Fantasy Playmakers. Follow my man, Law, Larry, Lawrence. I'm sorry. It's funny because I have a cousin named Lawrence, and I call him Larry, so you know what I'm saying? But, yes.
You're straight.
Yeah, follow my man, Lawrence, on IG at the catch_law. That's LAW for all y'all that don't know how to spell. You know what I'm saying? and we're going to go ahead and direct you to all that fantasy goodness. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and hit that subscribe. Leave a comment on both of our channels. You know what I'm saying? And, man, thank you again, man. And you know what? Cowboys, Niners, NFC Championship. Dial it up. Make the
Let's
phone.
Call it. Let's do it.
Make the call. Call Uncle Jerry. You know what I'm saying? Tell him to save us the box seats. You
Yes,
know what I mean?
sir.
For sure. Give me 1 second. I'm going to close this out. And you know what I mean? I'll chop it up with you for a quick sec off air. You know what I mean?
You're good, brother.
For sure, Playmakers. Woo!